Hey, let's talk Ciryl Gane versus Francis Ngannou. What do you say about this fight? This might be, if not already just from the hype alone, the biggest heavyweight fight in MMA history. And there's really talk about Ciryl Gane is fast and he's light and he moves like a middleweight or he moves like a small person, but he's a giant. And then you've got Francis Ngannou, who my friend just texted me. This guy has hands of steel, like a steel mace, working in the African mines. And both the things are super true. And that's one of the many factors that make this fight, really so fantastic. But what might be the difference at the end of the day here? There's a couple key things that I think of. One is your mental performance. When you're coming into a fight, a championship, something of this caliber, your mental performance has to really be on point. And Francis, this is the last fight on his contract. There's been some negativity in the press. Francis has, said some things he wasn't very happy with. There's also a video floating around the internet where Ciryl and Francis actually used to be teammates, and they're in the, maybe it's the Apex Center or at one of the most recent fights, and Francis walks right by him and doesn't even acknowledge him. Now, maybe Ciryl Gane said something, although the kind of vibe you get from this guy is not that he, Ciryl Gane anyways, is not that he, someone that is, speaking badly about others. He seems very happy, very humble. Maybe he did something in a camp, but it really seemed like Francis had taken on this attitude of just, outwardly a little bit of like frustration and anger, which there's something to be said. This is a fight, right? Maybe anger will be the thing that carries him to victory, being frustrated at some of these things. But we only have so much mind space to give something. So when you are giving this extra energy to things outside of our control at the time, it can play a really big factor in what is a really, really significant fight, maybe the most important fight in the history for either of these two. And we can't really call it a unification fight, so I won't go down that rabbit hole. It really is a title fight, a title defense fight for Francis. I'm not, it's an interesting storyline how it played out. But let's look at Ciryl Gane too. So we talk about power, and Francis lost to Derek Lewis and did not fight him again after that. So when you look at that, that's really interesting, right? That was I think the most recent loss that Francis had, and Ciryl Gane dismantled Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis is a veteran. He's been around for a while. That guy, he touches people and they go to sleep. We know Francis has that same knockout power, but Ciryl Gane was able to stand in there, and I wouldn't say he stood. He was floating around in there with Derek Lewis and just destroyed Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is one of my favorite fighters, and it was really fascinating. I was such a big fan of both of them watching that fight. It was just really like, how is this going to play out? And what people don't realize is it doesn't matter if it's the heavyweight class or the lightweight class, that speed is really, really, really important. When you can move like Ciryl Gane does, you can really wear your opponent out mentally and frustrate him. And when you think about, Ngganou being frustrated lately, is that going to come out in the fight? If Ciryl is very, very evasive. Now, Francis is a tremendous athlete. His speed, his power, all these things might make it so that he can close that gap very fast, but it's going to be hard pressed, to see how that actually goes down. One of the strategies might be for Ciryl to actually move in and start to attack first. Now, that would be interesting. You would want to say, man, when you're fighting someone that powerful, as powerful as Francis is, that their stamina will drop or be reduced over the course of the fight. But who knows? That doesn't seem like something that might happen for Francis. He seems to have a gas tank that is full, and both mentally and physically, even for someone that carries as much muscle as he does. But here's what you can do when you're Ciryl Gane, right? You can literally play the outside, keep moving, keep being evasive, poke. They talk about football and golf and these other sports being a game of inches. Well, fighting is like that too. You take one misstep, even a quarter of an inch, into someone's zone, and you get hit. That can be a game-changing move. So the amount of precision that these two fighters must move with, and the first person really to make a mistake, can pay very, very dearly for that, whether it's Ciryl, touching Francis and really mentally going, hey, buddy, I caught you. That can be an interesting start to the fight. Or Francis just with that knockout power that, the wind alone from his arm and hand swinging by you can be enough to knock a regular human off balance. So this is going to be a really, really fascinating fight. Possibly the best, the biggest, best heavyweight to ever enter the octagon, at least so far. And definitely we're talking about the UFC. Obviously there's Bellator and all these, other places, but this is a big fight. This fight has the most eyeballs on it that any MMA heavyweight fight has ever had. And who's going to win? That's a really good question. I don't think anybody has the answer to that. The only way we're going to find out is by watching the fight tomorrow.